This is the first time I'm moderating such a heavy-duty panel, and I think I want to behave like Arnab Goswami, but then somebody told me, you should never, ever copy anybody. So I'm not going to copy him. Okay, great. So can we just start with a round of introductions? If you could just tell us about what you do for just about 3 or 4 sentences each. And can we start with the lady, Devaki?
Sure. Hi guys, I'm Devaki Sahasrabudhe. I'm representing a company. We call this company as the next big thing in India. I'm representing Grex, and we are commencing an exchange for unlisted companies. So that is what I do. Something very creative, something very innovative, and we're trying to probably uplift the entrepreneur to a next level, and trying to get some serious investors in the business. So yeah, that's what we do. Thank you.
Great. Can we have Sanjay next?
My name is Sanjay Nagi. To describe myself, engineer, serial entrepreneur, visionary, future-looking person, running one consulting business, running one foundation for skilling and social work and livelihoods, running one outsourcing company, and a mentor to a couple of startups. Basically, I'm a Brahma. I love to create, so I get very bored very fast. So while closing, I think he made a comment to my weight. Yes, I am 120 kgs, so you really have a heavyweight panel now.
Hi, good afternoon everyone. I'm Rajiv Ranjan Bora. So I co-founded 2 firms. So one is in the field of algorithmic trading, high frequency trading. So we do make the markets liquid, so do a lot of volumes in the exchanges and help people find the true prices of instruments. The other startup is in the field of online education. So we train people globally about finance, quant finance, and automated trading and things of that sort. So we have trained people from all over the world on this domain. And then we have also invested in some e-commerce firms and so on. And in terms of interests, I like puzzles. I had represented India at the World Puzzle Championships twice, and yeah.
Great. I'm sure you can help solve problems at the national and international level now. Okay, so just a quick introduction about me. My name is Dharmendra Rai. I scare people. I tell them they're going to lose their jobs and they're going to lose their businesses and their factories if they're not creative, because technology is changing so fast. So that's what I do. I just scare people. I'm a nice, positive philosophy believer by scaring people. Okay, so let's go to the first topic of discussion. And we're talking about e-commerce versus manufacturing. And why not think of e-commerce as something that is complementing manufacturing rather than both as competing trends or things that we got to chase? Why not both of them together? So what would you think about e-commerce really enhancing manufacturing? And we can also look at the other picture later of what's growing faster or anything else. We can discuss that later.
Is this for me?
Yeah. We start with you.
Yeah. Okay, so that's going to be the trend? You're going to start all the questions with me?
May not be.
So, yeah, I mean, you know what, how I see that entire thing evolving is basically too many e-commerce companies who are coming out in the open. We have Flipkart, we have Snapdeal, we have XYZ, and we are seeing a lot of focus which is made on products which probably we can actually go ahead and pick it up from any of the shops today. But I am sure people sitting here are looking at probably buying online. We are creating products. We are creating some difficult products which probably were not available in India. They are getting manufactured here. So we are actually complementing. E-commerce is really complementing on the manufacturing side. We are asking a lot of entrepreneurs to commence a lot on the product development, on getting the right product manufactured in India. We have seen a lot of technology update back in China, but in our last session, everybody was talking about China, right? I mean, the cheapest product is probably produced in China. So why don't we start looking at something on those lines in terms of getting ourselves on that particular level? So far, so good. We have seen Snapdeal coming out with a lot of new innovations on the manufacturing side as well. So just name a few on those lines. So probably yes. I mean, complementing will be a greater idea than comparing it altogether, is what I feel.
Okay.
If I
Rajiv, your
may-
views?
Yes. Sorry, you want to?
No,
No, go ahead.
Okay. So if I can add on to what you mentioned, what you had mentioned is very perfectly correct. And then in addition, what we see, one of the biggest beneficiary from e-commerce is actually the infrastructure setup, the delivery infrastructure, the logistics setup. Logistics in India has improved drastically because of the entire e-commerce business. So when firms start manufacturing in India, they would need that logistics infrastructure, number one. So e-commerce has helped manufacturing by actually building an infrastructure for manufacturing. Okay. A second domain would be the finance and payment gateways and those infrastructures. So one is the logistics infrastructure. The second is the finance and payment and gateway infrastructure. That has also evolved a lot because of e-commerce. Now firms, a foreign national which is investing in a manufacturing firm in India, for them things become much more streamlined because of a proper payment gateway system in India. So that would be another aspect. In fact, if you look, you would find a lot of such examples if I were to just keep on giving them. So I don't, actually let's ask this. Does anyone here actually contradict the viewpoint that e-commerce would not assist Make in India? Means, probably not in a big way, but even at a small, minute way, whatever develops happen in e-commerce will have a trickle-down effect somewhere down the line.
Yeah, probably to add to this, sorry to cut you, we have also looked at Alibaba, the sourcing partners probably. They are creating a lot of manufacturing. If you guys, read about them, I'm sure that also will get on the virtue. And too many companies coming ahead and trying to see how best can manufacturing can be a part of India on the Make in India concept, and that's how precisely we have to take it ahead, maybe. Yeah, Sanjay.
I think this is the current context, and I'm a future person, I already told you that. I think what I see and what I foresee is that all this logistics, etc., is going to have its play. You can only do that much in reducing the travel time or reducing the truck transportation time, etc. There are segments of e-commerce buyers. Many of them will use e-commerce as a first opportunity. So let me just do a small research, since I run a research and consulting company. How many of you would like to use e-commerce as a first starting point of what you want to buy? Not go to a normal shop and buy, but do e-commerce first. So still a minority, yeah, and I think that's the trend which I see seminar to seminar. So there's lots of people who would use e-commerce as for the convenience or for the benefit, or you get a deep discount which you don't get in a store or whatever, and therefore you buy from the e-commerce. When the funding is going to dry up, and I'm giving you a shape of things to come, the deep discounts are going to go, and the e-commerce industry, in order to survive, would have to find other and innovative ways to give those deep discounts. And what they're going to do is they're going to push the efficiency to the manufacturer. So what we're going to see, if any one of you is into manufacturing, you'll have to start looking at what I call, as a new word, distributed manufacturing. So this concept of one factory in Thane producing everything and sending out from here to all over the India, this concept is going to go. You're going to get You're going to make a factory in Varanasi, you're going to make a factory in Rajasthan, you're going to make a factory in Tamil Nadu, you're going to get a lot of distributed manufacturing, and that's the shape of things to come. Few companies have already started this, and those companies are going to probably use the e-commerce boom to enhance their natural businesses as well as cater to the e-commerce business models which are going to entail you to deliver in different places. But those of you who are into manufacturing can start looking at how you can possibly, except those in the capital goods, but anyone into consumer markets will definitely have to start looking at distributed manufacturing. Thank you.
Okay, and next question is something where I suggest every one of you rack your brains, because that's what the planet needs. It needs more people racking their brains. The good old days where we just appointed a leader and expected him to take care of all our problems, make the economy grow, provide jobs, is over because of the exponential rate of technology growth. So the next question is, there have been reputed researchers and reputed media who have proclaimed that Make in India is definitely not going to work, because what Make in India is doing is taking somebody who's at an absolutely zero level, a person who's completely unemployable, who's got completely no skills, and you are making him work at a threshold level with threshold skills. And their argument is that nobody uses workers with threshold skills anymore. Certainly not the Chinese. All the threshold, basic skilled labor jobs have been automated or moved on to robots. Now, there are plenty of people predicting the death of jobs, and one of the things that I just read about 3 days ago said that by 2020, 5 million jobs will go. The chief executive of Wipro made a pretty drastic prediction. He said in the Indian IT industry, 60% of jobs that are currently not automated, which require people, will be automated within 3 years. Okay, so that's an IT example, but then the examples and the predictions for jobs dying is as much relevant to the manufacturing sector as well. So there is a lot of alarmism. Media tends to want to alarm people so that they can sell their magazines and their media. And normally the truth is much more complicated, but plenty of human beings don't think of it that way. Plenty of people think they have far more greater processing power in their brains than they actually do. Daniel Kahneman, a Nobel Prize laureate, probably the only Nobel Prize laureate in the world who won a Nobel Prize in economics, but who's not an economist, who's actually a psychologist. He says that we are rarely stumped. Most human beings will very, very rarely in their lives tell you, oh, I'm stumped, I'm confused, I'm overwhelmed, I can't understand this. Whereas that's logically what they should be saying for most of the decisions, because most decisions and most analysis is actually much tougher than they think it is. But what most people do is they just look at some set of data that they have, and that's a tangible piece of data, and based on that, they take decisions, presuming that the data they have is all the data that exists in the world to fix that problem. Why? Because it's too much work to do otherwise, right? I mean, just do a data hunt, and then you got so many data points, and then have tools to analyze that data, suddenly makes any decision far more expensive in terms of time, energy, and money. So what do? You just sit back and let the media put some stuff in front of your face and take that as the gospel truth, or take that as a gospel view, or a valid view. So if any of you is suffering from that, delusion, then maybe you want to keep your eyes open and think of the various views that people are expressing. So I'm going to take your views, and then I'm also going to throw it open to the audience, because maybe that will help people to break the rigidity of their opinions of what has been coming in mainstream media.
Okay, so if I were to summarize your question, so your question is, are robots going to make us obsolete?
Yes, is it so straightforward? Okay. We're going to have lots of robots, so several million jobs are going to get wiped off, and then when one would question, what is the objective of Make in India? Mm-hmm. One of the objectives of Make in India is to create jobs. Mm-hmm. And if we do Make in India and ultimately all jobs are going to robots, what's going on?
Okay, so at the turn of the previous century, so now we are in the 21st century. At the turn of the previous century, when industrialization picked up in US, in Europe, and so on, the workers of that time had the same scare. They were of the opinion that all this industrialization is going to take up our jobs, and then we are going to be without jobs, and so on and so forth. There was a huge scare then. Of late, I'm again seeing a same set of articles saying that computerization is going to take away our jobs. But then what I see personally...
Is it different this time?
Yeah, is it different this time? So what I see from my own personal experience, you evolve. From my own industry, so my industry is algorithmic trading. So what we do is we design computer systems which would trade on the exchange on their own. So how would people trade earlier? So a trader would sit in front of the computer, he would have his eyes glued to the computer monitor, and then he would track the prices, and then whenever the opportunity arose, he would take a trading decision. Now a computer system would monitor the prices. It would monitor the prices of way many more instruments. Whenever the opportunity arises, it would trade, it would do position management, and everything much better execution. The human being is not involved there, but the human being is now involved in doing much more sophisticated work. His job is to now design the algorithm. So earlier the trader would monitor, execute manually. Now the trader lets the computer do those parts, but then his job is now analyzing. So the skill set, the skills required, and then the skill sets of the people who are in the business would evolve. So even in our case, our initial systems were much more simpler. So which time, as we started making things more automated, people started filling in the doing more analytical, more sophisticated job. So in that sense, I see things evolving, and Make in India will definitely benefit from greater robotization of economies. One of the goals is obviously job creation. Well, people who upgrade their skills, they will still be able to get jobs, because automating things is not that straightforward, because there are hundreds of scenarios and all those things. So artificial intelligence is not that intelligent, so it cannot incorporate all those future what-if scenarios and so on. So requirement for human intervention will always be there, just that people will have to increase their skill levels. That is my personal viewpoint.
Okay.
So I have a completely different view, or I look at it from a different angle myself. When we talk about robots, when we talk about human beings versus robots, so now I have a question to ask all of you rather. Robots are not going to really make your food on a daily basis, will they? They will not. So we still go to restaurants and go eat food. So that is probably made by a chef, and chef is an art. I mean, cooking is an art. So certain skills cannot be taken away by robots. That's precisely what I feel, and I feel that very genuinely. In a fashion technology institute, if you're probably producing fashion designers, the designer is going to pen down a lot of things, or a sketch. I had I'm sorry, your name? Sanjeev. So he actually did.
He's a fashion designer?
He's not a fashion designer, but he's a designer at heart, I guess. So he was designing something, and probably he'll put that on in some kind of his advertising, or somewhere I'm sure he will use it. So I'm trying to say that not everything will be taken care by the robots. The chicken curry work of Lucknow, I don't know. I mean, is it really got on the machine as yet? Sanjay, would you know that? Yeah, but then at least the intricacies, will be done.
Restaurants which actually are totally automated in San Francisco.
Yeah, I mean, true that. But
that reminds me, there was a restaurant in Japan which had robots serving people, and that shut down because the robots weren't doing a good enough job. So
I'm not fully wrong, right? Okay.
Let me give you the real manufacturing perspective of it. World over, the automobile industry is generally considered as a benchmark of manufacturing. So what has happened has not been driven so much by labor perspectives, etc., but it's been driven around the basic business models itself. So what used to happen earlier is that suppose there were 5 machines, there used to be people skilled around that machine only. So they would do the lathe, then the whole equipment, 100 equipment would go, 100 pieces would move to the shaper, then 100 shaper would do those 100, then they'd move to the drill machine, then 100 would move to the drill machine. What this was doing is putting a lot of inventory into the system. Think about it. So when the manufacturing started getting tighter and then your input costs of steel have increased and you still need to sell a car at a lower rate, when people started looking at efficiencies, then they started looking at how to reduce your inventory in the first place. And what was created is a revolutionary concept all over the world, and India is one of the first which has adopted this, is called a cell manufacturing concept. I'm a marketing consultant, but I do know about this, so I'm just sharing it with you. So whoever is into manufacturing can actually start. So in a cell, you have one person responsible for 5 machines. So one piece goes, and until that whole piece gets produced in the end, they would not put the next piece. So what that basically has done is 2 things. One, it has enabled the worker to get skilled. So responsible corporates have skilled their workers accordingly, and he gets skilled in it's called, the technical word is rabbit chase manufacturing. So it's like a rabbit, you go move from one machine to the other machine to the other, complete that cell, then you get the next component, and then you're responsible for the cleaning of your cell, etc. So that's cell manufacturing or rabbit chase manufacturing. That's a whole movement of India, and I don't know how many of you are aware of this movement or are participating in this movement, but I would encourage you to do this. So nobody's lost jobs except the people who could not get trained. And those who could not get trained, and they're doing the same rudimentary jobs, and because of the way of the increment system, their salaries have kept going up. Those are the people who are getting the voluntary retirements from the company. So those are the people losing the jobs. And that in turn is creating a social problem, if the panel chairman allows me to talk about a social context. So what it is doing is that this foreman who is not getting trained, and he's reached a 45 to 48 age, and his salary is gone up, and he's not able to do that skilled job. So he gets a VRF, voluntary retirement from the company. His son in the meantime has become an engineer because he wanted his son to become an engineer. So his son gets an engineer in Infosys, in a IT job. This guy has now become jobless. That guy started earning a starting salary of 8 lakh rupees a year. The whole patriarchal method in which a family used to be managed is changing. And this is the big problem that is happening with the kind of skill challenges. So separately, you do have a skill India, but I don't think the integration is working correctly. Nobody's going to lose their jobs except the very low-skilled people, not because of robotization, but because of cost control by the corporates. Thank you.
Okay, I thought the panel discussion was a startup, but it's become a shutdown. I had no clue that time passed so fast. So anyway, I wanted to just give a couple of perspectives. One is that Amazon appeared on the cover of Fortune India, and Jeff Bezos appeared as Lord Vishnu on the cover of Fortune. And every Indian should read that issue because it talks about Amazon investing several $1 billion in India, and there is number 2 to Jeff Bezos, I forget his name, who is commenting that we have not invested, or we are investing more in India than we have ever invested in any other country, obviously apart from the US. And that is creating lots of jobs for delivery boys. And the latest Outlook magazine also has, I think, a 4 or 5 pager on this big booming economy of delivery boys. Now, it's another thing that the delivery boy economy may be killed by drones, but again, legislation is a big thing there, and drones may not really be a big thing, maybe for 10, 20 years because of legislation issues and because of technology issues as well. We don't know how good the technology is going to be. So this is a specific instance, and if you were to extract the theme, maybe the theme is that with more technology, at least initially, or at least in some sectors, great number of jobs are going to be created initially, maybe before they're destroyed. Okay, that could be one theme that could be extracted from this thing that's happening because of Amazon, and obviously not only Amazon, all the other guys together, Flipkart and the works. That's one thing. And another thing is there have been very respected researchers who've made this argument that at the beginning of the 20th century, about 60% of the people in the US were into farming. So they were satisfying the food needs of the entire country by being employed to the extent of 60%. Now the number of, or the percentage of people in agriculture is about 3%, and they're obviously catering to a much larger population. So what's happened to the rest 57%, simplistically speaking? They haven't been regaled to the dustbin of history. They have other jobs. So if technology is killing some jobs, it's also creating some other jobs. Now, the time lag is something that needs to be considered. It's not that you're going to have one set of jobs being destroyed and another set of jobs just being created like those, the blood of demons used to create additional demons in Amar Chitra Katha comics. We're not talking about that kind of urgency. We don't know how long it's going to take, but there's a good chance that, again, one could do a theme extraction and say, maybe that's also what's going to happen in the future. And just one small thing that I could think of is, right now, everybody celebrates the birthdays by eating junk food and singing the same old shitty song. I mean, I just don't get it. What is the excitement of doing the same thing every time? Maybe people will start hiring stand-up comics to give a 5-minute performance for every birthday. Okay, maybe. I'm just thinking. I would like that for my birthday. So that's millions of jobs being created, which you never thought of before. Just like we never thought of what jobs we created out of these 57% people who are simplistically unemployed when technology is used more in the agriculture sector. So the theme there is, yes, jobs are going to be killed, but maybe lots of new jobs will come up which you never thought of, and that could be one way out of this. Okay, so do we have a few minutes more? Or? Okay, so anybody else has any ideas on this theme? Have you come across something else on this theme other than the simplistic view that, oh, robots are going to kill us and maybe I need to time my suicide by putting a Google Calendar note? Okay, so we'll just take 2 questions, okay? 2 questions or anything you want to add on this perspective. Because this, as I said, is a big problem facing everybody in the world. And more brains work on it, the better.
Hi, I'm Satyan from Capel Industrial Solutions. I've set up around 400 to 500 workshops, predominantly in woodworking industry. I see similar challenges in most of the workshops. We have not even started. Make in India is just marketing as of date. We have not even started. The reason is lack of land, because the business person, the manufacturer, has to invest in land. He has to invest in machines. Machines in India are nowhere near. Look at China, they import machines from Europe, most efficient machines, whereas we have not even, we charge 30% custom duty on imports. GST is nowhere near. We don't know when we'll have that. Banking, finance, like the gentleman was saying, banking, SMEs are being charged 30% more than home loan or auto loan. Like it's 13% instead of 10%. So we are nowhere close. It's getting loans is very difficult. And now we have this Make in India concept. We had Make in India show, but what about SMEs? How do SMEs actually, or at the ground level, benefit out of this Make in India? With this e-commerce, they can probably, they have access to entire market. So someone sitting in small city, maybe in Udaipur, can even ship their stuff to certain part of India without any channel. So it might help, but as far as I understand, Make in India is far away from getting started at the ground level.
Okay, so your point is Make in India is not a success so far. Well, look at the perspective from where we come. So I wouldn't say it has been, a lot of things have happened. For example, what were the basic tenets of Make it India? One was simplify processes. So in terms of earlier, the number of days taken to register your firm was 27. Now and then Singapore, for example, is 2 days. So the aim was to reduce that. How did they Now you can't just make a slogan and say that, okay, we are going to make it easy. There have to be actionable points. So they have done some actionable points. So merging processes, which earlier you used to have two different processes. Now you have both the processes have been merged together, so that you just have to go through one process. A lot of digitization have happened and so on. So ease of transaction, taxation simplification is also part of Make in India. If you go through the Make in India bullet points, so those are things that will definitely ease. But it's just setting up the environment, making it easier for people who want to manufacture. So road construction, 6,000, the highest, longest amount of highways were constructed last year. 6,000 villages electrified in 6 months. So these are infrastructural setups. Then you have simplification, business, ease of doing business, like simplifying taxation, simplifying all paperwork, reducing red tapeism. So these are just assisting points. Now, people who find opportunities who were handicapped because of the earlier scenarios might benefit now. Well, not many big names might have started post Make in India yet, but then it might be just too early. It's just 6 months now.
Yes. Even the process knowledge is very important. In Skill India, we should actually concentrate on unskilling India. Unskilling India is where people stop, I should say not stop, but invest more on technology or more on operational skills rather than handmade, handiwork, handicrafts, or these kind of skills.
This government is doing exactly that. I don't know how many of you are aware that two new qualification packs, that QPs, that is the skilling opportunities, have been created. There is one category in the rural context called a rural mason. So they want to train 250 lakh rural masons. So that's a big program. Even the pilot, they want to train 50 lakh pilot, and they're linking this very innovatively with the Indra Awas Yojana. So those who get this rural mason trained, construct the houses using the rural mason, will get the 70,000 rupees the same day through the Aadhaar card system. It's a fantastic thing which the government is doing, Ministry of Rural Development. Separately, a new council has been created for domestic workers. Legislation has been created for working hours, overtimes, etc. for domestic workers. How that will get deployed in a massive country like India is another matter. But again, 2.5 crore of females are going to be trained for becoming domestic workers. And their training includes operating the washing machine, operating the microwave, etc. So it's at an absolute grassroots level that this government is acting. It's a fantastic program. Of course, at the minister level, it's been announced, it's been done, the sector skill council has been made, the QPs have been made. Now, when the deployment happens, it will take its time by the time it really percolates. So then you'll say it's not working. But I think even if 10% of this starts working, it will be a fantastic change, and it's happening already.
Okay, so I think I'm going to end this discussion by saying that when we say Make in India,
I have a point here. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting.
Okay,
you.
I'm sorry. I'll need the permission to continue, or their commandment to stop.
Just one small point. My name is Anil Nagpal. I'm director of Oyster HR Solutions. Now, as far as this Make in India concept is concerned, what my understanding is that, see, I have been into sales for 16 years towards the beginning of my career. Now, I have noticed that whenever we go to a customer, there is a very good chance of attracting some business. And same thing is being done by the current government, where Prime Minister is going to the other countries and inviting them to do investment in our country. And this kind of visits definitely is going to bring some revenue to our country. And we need to just wait and watch. It's not something which will happen overnight. And definitely new jobs are going to get created, a lot of revenue is going to come. It will certainly attract some business. Not necessarily 100% visits will reveal some business, but some of the visits are definitely going to reveal some business, are going to reveal some benefits which will give a lot of revenue to our country. And as far as modernization is concerned, no modernization till date has snatched any jobs. That is my personal opinion. And we feel that the fear of coming new technology, snatching jobs is just a false fear and will not have any adverse effect.
Yeah, so what I was saying is, when we are talking about Make in India, we are making Grex in India. So as he said, that it takes 27 days for
Now there are quite a few interesting simplification processes that they have done.
So they have reduced it. So if you come on, if you go on our website, you can probably register your company in 3 minutes. So that is the difference we are creating. When it comes to getting certain SMEs who are looking for funding, who are looking at some interesting models, we are looking at debt funding and stuff like that. So you can probably check that out on there and trying to see how we can make that in India as well on a
Great.
much larger scale. Thank
So
you.
thank you very much, Devaki, Sanjay, and Rajiv.
Thank you.
Thank you.